Janitorial Manager presents the Business of Cleaning podcast, the podcast that brings you the information you need to be successful in the cleaning industry. The Business of Cleaning podcast provides in-depth interviews with successful personalities from the commercial cleaning industry, as well as discussing the trending topics that matter to you and your organization. Welcome into the Business of Cleaning podcast, your number one source for information on the commercial cleaning industry. We release new episodes monthly live from the Janitorial Manager Studio located in Toledo, Ohio. I'm Tim Clegg, the Marketing Communications Specialist at AA Solutions and your host of the Business of Cleaning podcast. This month, our guest is Scott Prather, Senior Regional Manager for the BETCO Corporation, which is based right here in Northwest Ohio in Bowling Green. Scott brings 33 years of experience with BETCO. It's an exciting time for the company. They continue to grow and release new and cutting-edge products, especially like their newest product, EnviroZyme, a probiotic solution. Welcome into the show, Scott. Tell us a little bit more about BETCO and what they specialize in.
Thanks, Tim. BETCO is a family-owned business, and we've been in business close to 80 years. The Betts family, I go way back with BETCO. My grandfather actually started buying from Mr. Carl Betts, who was the founder of BETCO back in the early 50s. And Mr. Betts and my grandfather were good friends and kind of started business in the same time period. And obviously both gentlemen saw a vision in the cleaning industry. And Mr. Betts was a chemist at the time, manufacturing products, and my grandfather had a janitorial supply house in Owensboro, Kentucky, where I'm originally from, and grew up and selling private labeled janitorial supplies, including brand named chemicals as well as equipment. So BETCO has always been on the cutting edge. You know, we've been first in several things throughout the industry. We actually came out with the first non-acid bowl cleaner called Molly back in the 60s. We also had a revolutionary floor stripper, which was called Axit back in the 80s, which was the first non-rinse floor stripper that there was. We came out with several different types of polymers and finishes and so forth, and even to this day are currently looking at revolutionary and new technology into polymers as well as products to clean with, and so hence the purchase of EnviroZyme, which is basically cleaning with bacteria. So whole different spin, kind of come full circle, and looking forward to the future.
In BETCO, certainly the innovators in this industry. Scott, you'd mentioned you're from Owensboro, Kentucky. That's a city that is known with producing top-tier NASCAR talent, from NASCAR Hall of Famer Darrell Waltrip, his brother Michael, the Green family, and Jeremy Mayfield. Did you have any interactions growing up? I know you were involved in high school athletics with Darrell or his brother Michael at all.
Well, you know, Darrell was a few years older than I was. I remembered when Darrell ran track out at Davis County High School. There was basically three high schools in Owensboro when I was growing up. We had the Catholic High School, we had the city, and then we had the county high school. And I had attended school at Owensboro High School, and Darrell went to Davis County High School. But I certainly remember Darrell in all of his adventures, as far as when he used to drive go-karts, and started at a very young age as far as driving in the we called them the roundy rounders, but he raced on dirt and raced on asphalt too. And then when Darrell's younger brother Michael got into the scene, well, you know, Darrell had paved a pretty good path there for a lot of the guys
Certainly.
back in Owensboro. You mentioned David Green and the Green family, Jeremy Mayfield. These were all folks that had kind of fallen in the track of what Daryl had paid for everyone there in Owensboro. And going back to Jeremy, I actually coached Jeremy in Pee Wee football. Remember him very well. Remember his uncle Bobby Hodges, and those guys. The thing about stock car driving is takes a lot of money.
Yes, it does.
And the thing about it is you got to have a lot of sponsorship. And those guys in the early days were pretty much kind of self-sponsored, if you would. And they were lucky enough to have a lot of people that believed in their dream and sponsored them and got them off. And now, of course, looking behind it, it's a lot of good history. But a lot of good athletes have come from that area. And I look at the racing world as having to be on the cutting edge and always in good shape, and nerves of steel, and you better have your ducks in a row when you get out there running the speeds they run.
Passion in the cleaning industry, you mentioned, with your family, it runs deep. I mean, you started at a young age helping out the family business, getting involved, learning the tricks of the trade. How did your firsthand experience prepare you for your future in the industry?
Well, Tim, the back in the early days, it was fairly simple business. The cleaning industry was very simple. But I saw early on that the only way to make a difference as far as the industry was to probably be on the manufacturing side, because the distributors basically had a lot of choices out there, the manufacturers, but the manufacturers were the ones that were meeting all the regulations, the government regulations, and EPA regulations, and so forth. So I saw early on that the manufacturing side was really probably the side for me to be on in the future, because that's where the changes were going to take place. And now the scenario, if you would, is just like every other business. We have a lot of the older businesses selling out. We have some merging, and then we simply have some that are just going out of business. So the footprint of the industrial side of the business is getting smaller every day as far as individually owned. But the larger companies obviously are growing, and so there's fewer people to actually work with and sell through out there today. But the larger ones that we have the relationships and have had the relationships over the years have been good to us, and I think that they'll provide the future for the business.
How important was it for you first getting started in the industry to find that long-term home, that family atmosphere, which you had experienced when you were seeking employment, getting in the industry and getting started?
Well, Tim, I tell you, the situation with BETCO was an easy decision for me, because I grew up with the Betts family, and Paul, who's the owner of BETCO today, and his brother Dan would call on me there in Owensboro, and it was kind of like a big family back in the day. And I knew how Paul and Dan and the folks that started out the same as we had started out. So the passion was always there, regardless which side of the desk you're on. We're always trying to meet the needs of the consumer, the end user. But I knew that from the manufacturing side, that's where all the changes were going to be. We can only change the industry so much on the distribution side. That's the thing, is that the manufacturer has to provide the innovation. We're kind of the logistics, if you would, for the for what we do. But we still need training, and we need to carry over that training over to the end user. Training is such an important thing today with all companies. We have so many different outlets today, as far as Google and the internet and so forth, to get a lot of information. But it seems like it's kind of reminds me of a big toolbox. Sometimes we've got the right tool, but we don't know exactly which tool it is to use, because we have so many. And I look at the internet a lot like that. It's kind of like it's still a one-on-one business to me. And the best way that I can that I seem to get the point across and work with the customer is strictly still just hands-on. I know we do a lot of things just like today where we're going through the Zoom meetings and so forth, but there's nothing that takes the place of being there in front of the customer.
I think it's very interesting. Business back then, even 1980s, 1990s, deals were finalized with a firm handshake or signatures down on a napkin. And you've seen it go through that transition now where it's a little bit different. You've had to build that trust a little bit more, spend a little bit more detail in that. Tell us some of the early stories. I know you had mentioned in our initial meeting too that clients would stay at your guys' houses rather than, the hotel life that we've all grown accustomed to nowadays.
Well, it's funny, Tim, because again, back in the early days, there wasn't a whole lot of factory reps that were on the road, but the ones that were, my grandfather and grandmother would actually would bring them in. They wouldn't stay in a hotel. They felt like family, and watching a lot of these factory reps come in. Of course, everybody wore a suit and tie back in those
Mm-hmm.
days, and everybody carried a demo case. And basically the way to set up your schedule, or what we today call an Outlook calendar, was the phone book. So, a lot of times I would watch my grandmother cooking breakfast for the guys, and, they'd be sitting there talking products and talking different types of applications and opportunities, and they'd be marking their yellow pages, if you would, and making calls. And back in those days, a lot of things were just cold calling. But it truly was a different time and a different business back in those days. There was everything was done on relationship selling. You had close friends, you had good friends. Kind of like it used to be when you started in sales. They would tell you that your best friends are going to be your best customers, and that's so true, because as you work with a lot of these customers, and especially in my early days at BETCO, I found that they were like family, because to be honest with you, you're spending more time with your customers out there in the field than you are with your own family. So they become very, very close.
33-year career so far with BETCO. How have you been able to continue to be so successful at your role and being able to be adaptable? Because, as you mentioned, with it going through several transitions, how have you continued to grow in your industry?
Well, the one thing that I'll say to him is that if I could give any of the younger guys advice out there, is be able to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about the old guys like me adapting to new technology, but they also have to look at the industry, because it is such an old industry. Is look at some of the old too. I think that the combination between the old and the new will make the best salesperson out there. I think that they can see some of the challenges and some of the things that they have to face as far as time constraints today, the way purchasing's done today. But the way that I've always looked at it, and unless something changes, I think it'll continue that way, is that regardless of their cleaning program, out of every dollar spent, 10 cents is the actual product cost, and 90 cents is still the labor cost. So we've got to continue to have better programs as far as training. We have to have better scenarios as far as application. We have to come up with better procedures, if you would. And that's one of the things that BETCO has always instilled in me from day one, was what we call the 3 Ps, and that's product, people, and procedures. And nothing seems to work without that right combination.
That's a winning combination in any industry, but certainly in your guys' industry. It's an exciting time. We mentioned BETCO just releasing a new top-of-the-line product called EnviroZyme Probiotic Solution. It's a word that we hear in our daily lives. I know that I take a couple of probiotics to help. I'm kind of getting to that age now. I'm a new father, so I figure, you know what? I should probably do a little bit extra, taking care of myself. But it always has, when you hear that word, you associate with positive health benefits on our bodies, but not necessarily yet used to hearing it on cleaning products.
That's correct. And, congratulations on being the new dad, Tim. I tell
Thank
you,
you so much.
if probiotics were around when I was your age, I would probably been on them the same as you are. Again, technology is amazing. And the probiotic side of our line of cleaning is basically we've been able to design specific bacteria to go after specific areas as far as cleaning. We have found that we can eliminate odors in restrooms. We can eliminate urine in restrooms. We can do so many things that we can design the bacteria, which creates enzymes, which creates more enzymes, which creates more enzymes as far as regimens to go after what we're doing. For an example, one of the first products that we designed was a product called Grease Solve. And you look at your typical all-purpose cleaners, the greasers out there, and most of them are very high alkaline in nature. And people have always been looking for alternatives as far as to use more friendly or sustainable
Mhm.
types of products out there in the workplace, but they just haven't found a way to change chemistry. So with the probiotics program, we've actually found that these products will not only clean, but they'll eliminate odors, they'll break down cellulose, they'll break down urine, they'll break down so many different things, and they have a pH of 7. So it's very easy for them to relate when you start talking about a pH of 7, because they know that that's typically neutral.
Mhm.
And they look at it's like, well, I've got to see this work. If it's a product kind of like a neutral floor cleaner, if you would, it probably hadn't got a whole lot of cleaning ability. But then they're shocked when they use the products. And then also, too, that being that particular type of product was designed to go after those hydrocarbons and oil loving types of areas, then it also continues to clean even when it's in the drain. So we help the back side of the operation as well as the front side. And then we found in testing, Tim, that these probiotic products that we're using actually have residuals to them that will last up to 21 days.
That's
They'll
incredible.
probably last longer, but we've only tested them for 21 days, knowing that, after they've cleaned, they're still there and they're still active. And once they are wetted again, then they become active again. So it's a real good thing as far as for the environment, for the worker, and everybody surrounded.
And that's so important. Everybody's time is valuable. There's not enough hours in the day to get your to-do list complete. Mine continues to grow, especially as the weather warms up in Northwest Ohio. 21 days is a long time. Whether it's a DIYer at your house trying to clean, I know my wife and I split those duties. So not having to constantly worry about cleaning an area once every week. That allows us to kind of focus on some other things. And then you look at businesses who use the product from that side of things. That allows them to focus on what's really important in building new relationships, getting new customers, rather than have to come back to an area several times.
Exactly. And that's the thing about it. It's like I say, all of us only have so many hours in a day. So we try to use that as best we can. And we want to make that as successful as we can. And with the probiotics line, we're going to continue to design these bacteria to even do more. I think that some people say, is it biological cleaning? And in a way, it really is, because
Hmm.
we're kind of doing away with the typical type of chemistry that we've known in the past, and we're moving forward with the new technology. And the thing about it is that there is studies being done right now in Europe that we are finding that even the bacteria that can be created can actually go after bad bacteria. So we all
Oh,
know
wow.
what happened during COVID with
Yeah.
the quaternary pneumonias and the shortages and so forth. And some of the products that we had available at the time were a citric acid-based product that we had shelved and we brought back in due to a SARS claim that it had on the product. But I think that you'll see in the future that probiotics are going to be used widely for a lot of different things. And the really neat thing about BETCO is that we're the only manufacturer in the world that actually create the cleaning products and grow our own bacteria. So that's a big plus for BETCO. It's a big plus for our customers, knowing that our slogan is that we grow it so we know it.
Going back, you'd mentioned COVID. It's been, over 3 years. How much did those experiences and everything that happened to the world at that time kind of shift your guys' thinking for the future to create this product and for the road ahead for the industry as a whole?
Well, unfortunately, Tim, the thing about it is it seems like it's human nature, out of sight, out of mind. So,
Right.
during the pandemic, with the sanitizers and the quaternary ammonias and the wipers and all the different things that people were looking for and asking about, and we probably had more people reading labels at that point in time than we've ever had in the history. We constantly preach this every day to end users about what they should be using and overuse of disinfectants and so forth, metabolic resistance to disinfectants and so many different things like that. But it just seems like human nature says that if it's not on the front page of the newspaper, it doesn't seem to be extremely critical right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not that COVID has gone away, it's still present. I think it taught us a good lesson that we should, if anything, proper hand washing is one of the keys to transmitting, different types of diseases and bacteria, because germs are hitchhikers. Basically, they
Yeah.
like to hitchhike off of different people's skin and hands and touch surfaces and so forth. And if we just be more aware of our surroundings and basically the cleaning and what people are touching out there, I think that means a lot. But I would like for people to, I obviously don't want to see a COVID outbreak again in my lifetime,
Yeah.
but I would like people to use that experience in moving forward and read the labels and look at what they're using and make sure they're aware of these touch surfaces and so forth. Gloves are still okay. Wash your hands, properly. Sanitize when you don't have access to water. So these are all things that we've been taught, but sometimes are short on practicing them.
Your competitors, of course, always trying to improve, but you guys welcome that. You guys actually will allow them to bring their samples to your guys' facility, brand new state-of-the-art facility, I might add. Looking at videos of it, it's absolutely immaculate, for testing. And I think that's interesting that you guys allow that. And, obviously you want to help the industry as a whole. What's good for business is good for competition as well.
Well, the one thing with BETCO is we've always had an open door policy, Tim. So,
Mm-hmm.
we are for the end user. We look at our distribution network, because that's not necessarily our customer, that's our business partner. So the true end user are the folks out there that are, the schools, the building service contractors that are cleaning every day, but they're clients, and A-class office buildings, the people that work in those buildings. These are the people work in the plants. These are the true customers. We look at our distribution points as business partners, not necessarily our customers.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, we encourage the competition out there. That's the only way that we're going to get better, is sharing information. That's one of the things that I've always looked at, is that if we have something that can change the industry, maybe even change the world of cleaning, let's not hide it. Let's not be secretive about it. Let's get it out there and let's show people. Let's do things. And I think that COVID taught us a good lesson in that too, as far as, looking outside of our boundaries and, with the supply chain issues and all the different things that were out there. I think that's taught us a good lesson of looking at other industries and looking outside of our wheelhouse, as they call it, and seeing what's out there. So I think that that was, in a way, was a positive thing for people like for our company in BETCO.
We're speaking with Scott Prather, Senior Regional Manager for the BETCO Corporation here in Northwest Ohio, Bowling Green, Ohio. And So let's go back, talk about that new facility. I kind of mentioned it a few minutes ago, but just kind of watching the video on your guys' website, it really is cutting edge and really has set the standards for everybody in the industry. And also take us through the kind of the little bit more on the research and development and the time it went into. It's never over trying to perfect the product, but how much time and research and development went into perfecting EnviroZyme?
Well, I think that it's a continuous process. We actually had bought the company up in Wisconsin about 14 years ago. So what we were doing at that point in time was it was a company that was creating bacteria that was primarily used for the municipalities, so drinking water, wastewater, and so forth. That's what they were designing, a specific type of bacteria for specific purposes, more or less generic, if you would. And so there's a lot of folks out there that are selling similar types of products, but it's more of a generic type of strain of bacteria that they're selling, because basically they don't make it. So a lot of times we'll get a customer to come to us and they want a specific CFU count of bacteria, and we'll produce that, and then we'll ship that to them, and then they'll blend it the way that they want to blend it, but they haven't created the bacteria. So there's been a lot of microbiologists involved in EnviroZyme, as far as, again, looking to do different things with agriculture, looking to do different things with actually even in the feeding. And the agriculture side is that we found that by using this type of probiotics, that we found so many different ways that we can actually improve the root strength and, ward it against insects. I mean, there's so many different things. I mean, we haven't even touched the surface. I mean, we haven't scratched the edge of probably what's available out there and some of the opportunities that we have with the probiotics. But I will tell you that the new facility, we welcome our customers, our distributor business partners in. Large end users, we have them in all the time. We train, we take them through. The nice thing about that is we can do hands-on. We have so many different areas in the training area where we can show equipment. We can recreate the scenarios that they're looking at in their facilities. So it really makes it nice to where we can do it hands-on. We've got the access to the specialists right there at the plant if we need to have them there. And I've never yet had anyone that's come up to Bowling Green that is left unsatisfied or with unanswered questions. And that's, if they do, I tell them it's their own fault, because we've got plenty of folks who can answer those questions for them while they're there.
And you had mentioned kind of that training a little bit, but you guys specialize the training to fit that company, that customer's needs. I mean, it's whether it's on machines or working with different chemicals, I mean, if somebody can't make it there, there's e-learning courses. So there's so many different options for training, whether it's in person at your guys' facility or on the computer, to try and companies to try and have their company, their employees rather, alert and understanding whether it's the machine, what the machinery they use, whether it's the products they're using, which is certainly important in today's world we live in.
Well, we actually established what was called BETCO University. So we look at it just like almost like a college. So like you said, you have access online, you have access in person. We have our regional managers out there that are doing training in the field. And then obviously they can come to Bowling Green and go through the training classes that we have every month. So we have a pretty wide array of opportunities that the folks can be properly trained and set up their own programs. So we have programs that we can put in place, or we can custom make those for them, or we can adapt to the scope of work that we call it at their facility, to where we can go in and we can tweak their scope of work and help them out based upon what they're asking us to do. So just like any college, you get accreditation hours through IE Hoff by going through our training. and that carries on, and hopefully that will carry along with the individuals. I kind of joke sometimes. It's just the same as someone that's got a general degree and they're going back after their master's. Well, if they achieve a master's degree, then we automatically assume that they've achieved a high level of education that they're going to be able to utilize. Well, that's the same way in cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
Once they've achieved the BETCO University and they've gone through the courses and they got accreditation hours, they're experts at what they're doing. And I'm not saying that always stays that, because things change, equipment changes, processes changes, products changes. So we have to always be on the lookout for the next latest and greatest, and we always have to look at how we can streamline the operation and basically make it more efficient.
BETCO has built a successful relationship with Bowling Green State University, just a mile or two down the road, not very far, but they've allowed students to provide research on environmental bacteria, different strains. How has this relationship helped benefit BETCO and the experience that they're providing for students too at the Bowling Green State University?
Well, I tell you what, Tim, there's nothing like young minds. These folks come in there. They're very intelligent. They're very smart. They're talented. They're full of energy, and there's not a lot of things that substitutes that. I tell you what, when you can go out and recruit these folks,
Mm-hmm.
and they can come in and you can be a part of their career, their learning experience. I'm always, I always tell my folks, I said, always be a sponge, absorb as much as you possibly can.
Never stop learning.
And then take that information and utilize it the way you want to utilize it for your customers, because information is so valuable these days, correct information that is, and making it work. And like I said, that's a very valuable asset for us to have University of Toledo right there as being a partner with us. And I know we've looked at that over the years as kind of a stepping stone for a lot of those young folks coming in.
Right.
And hopefully we'll stay with them no matter where they go in life.
Sustainability certainly on everybody's mind, and wondering what happens. We mentioned when things kind of get into the soil, from what we saw in the mess in East Palestine, Ohio. You guys, obviously, this is a multi-product. I mean, it's good for docks, garbage disposal, floors, grease traps, beverage trays in restaurants. But really, sustainability for our future is something where you guys have taken a lot of pride in, for that next generation, for your grandkids, my kids growing up. And that's really important. As so many things have happened, I would say in the last year or two, that things that have been able to get into the soil and the water.
Well, I totally agree, Tim. And I talked to a lot of folks my age, and they say, "Well, it's too late." It's never too late.
Yeah.
I think that what we have to do is we just have to be prepared to change. It is a change. By utilizing some of these products and procedures, the way that we're using them today, it's a change of what they're currently used to doing, but it's a positive change. So that's what they have to look at. Several years ago, we came out with, and not only BETCO, but a lot of the companies came out to where we were going to, everything was going to be green cleaning. And the problem was, is that the technology wasn't there yet to go along with totally switching from conventional products to green products. So it really got a bad rap the first go around. And now I think that with the technology that exists, we're finding that there are a lot of voids to where we can use programs like the probiotics and the EnviroZyme products that do as good or better of a job of cleaning and give us all the benefits of sustainable types of products. And and looking forward, I hope that there's more and more coming out of the pipeline, which I know there will be, as far as in time to come, to where, we're probably using less products, but we're being able to adapt and use them as far as for a lot of different things, so that it makes the training easier for the people, makes the purchasing easier for the people, and also too, like I say, it's cleaner on the environment, because we all have to live on this as I say, this rock. So we're all at one point in time responsible for what we're leaving behind, and I think that
Absolutely.
that's a big thing. If we can look at it like that for our next generation, our kids, our grandkids, I think that this is a generation that can make a big impact on it, as far as starting that change and in a positive way. I've been seeing information on the news here the last month or so about where the ozone, the hole in the ozone is actually starting to close again. Hopefully this is by using these more environmentally friendly type products, that do not have the ozone depleting capabilities with the aerosols and so forth. So I think we're on the right track if we can just pull everybody together, and get the commitment for everybody to do it, and not just when you have to do it.
And BETCO has certainly been committed over the early days, present, in the future. Scott, I appreciate you coming on the show. It's been very informative for us, and I know our listeners are certainly going to learn a lot, and telling us about the new product, EnviroZyme. Where can people go to purchase your guys' products as well as get their hands on EnviroZyme?
Well, they can, if probably where they're currently purchasing their products now, they can ask about it. They can actually go online. They can actually call BETCO, www.betco.com. Our website's a fantastic resource for not only product, but also training, as you said, online training and so forth. There's no charge for that. And like I said, the folks out there would like to look at trying some of the new probiotics. We'd certainly encourage that. And they just have to call customer service, and we'll direct them to a close spot locally, or we'll be willing to work with them in some way of getting some samples of products to where they can to purchase it local. So.
Can't wait to continue to follow your guys' continued success. That will conclude this month's edition of the Business of Cleaning podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast from. From everyone at Janitorial Manager, my guest Scott Prather, I'm Tim Clagg saying so long. Until next time.